I see the born of no return. Sister, hey now, can't you see we're rushing for the end? I see the point of no return. Now I see the point of no return. It's just
Well, good evening. It's Tuesday, August 19th, 2014. You are listening to Wide Awake News on the Rents Radio Network. My name is Gary Hendershot, and for about the next hour, I'm going to be barking at the moon, although from time to time I may cough and sneeze a little bit, as you might be able to tell from my voice. I am recovering from what my wife accused me of being Ebola. I don't know, but late last week I came down with something that flat knocked me on my butt by Saturday. But we're on the mend. You know, I didn't have any bourbon, so I actually had to submit to more traditional remedies. You know, the wife's pumped me full of colloidal silver and everything else under the sun. She shot me up with some kind of oregano stuff that about blew the top of my head off. But at least I could breathe for a day or two after that. I hope all of you out there are doing well tonight. We've got a unseasonably cool August here in the D.C. metropolitan area. Not sure how weather might be out your way, wherever you might be, but I'll tell you, here in the Washington, D.C. area, you know, we're used to August, you know, being like a sauna, you know, and doggone if it hadn't been, you know, low 80s, modest humidity. I mean, I'll tell you what, if this is what they're calling global warming, I'll take another dose next year, thank you. I had an interesting comment on one of the videos that I published to YouTube. Gary, we're really getting bored with your drab blue backgrounds. Can't you be more creative with your video backgrounds? The static blue is really kind of lame, and you know, needless to say, you know, everybody out there is a videography and is going to take shots at you. You know, what can I say? But yes, through the magic of modern computer-generated graphics, you'd be surprised some of the weird things I could do. But, you know, for the most part, I prefer to kind of stick to the news. We'll be taking calls tonight. Typically, I've got more on my plate than I can handle, and you know, I really don't have time to engage in taking calls from the live audience. But tonight, you know, I really want to hear some other folks' opinions, particularly on this Ferguson, Missouri issue. So I want you all to kind of put your thinking caps on, consider carefully how you view what's been going on in Ferguson. I mean, this has been kind of the hot item in the news for going on 2 weeks now, with the average life expectancy of a news item, you know, about 72 hours if it's a hot one. You know, the idea that something like this might continue to be the top item in the news for 10 days makes me kind of scratch my head. You know, it's, you know, I don't want to detract from the seriousness of the issue. You know, a lot of people want to make it into a race issue. The facts surrounding the issue are that a young black man, 18-year-old fella, was shot dead by a white cop. And the emphasis seems to be on the black and white. Okay. I can understand how a black person might consider a situation like this and say, oh, it's whitey out to get the black kid. It's all, white people just hate black people and this, that, and the other thing. I understand. I'm not stupid. I have read history. I do understand how those perceptions could continue even after all the advances we've made. I was out there marching in the civil rights marches back in the late 1960s, early 70s. Frankly, by the time I entered my early 20s, I kind of thought we'd made a little progress on that one. Maybe not. Personally, I think the issue is the militarized attitude taken on by most police, be that policeman white, black, or pink, or purple. The police have been trained to have an us and them point of view. And you, my friend, regardless of what shade your skin is, are part of them. Okay? You see the cops, see blue in a badge, and everyone else. Now, there's a reporter out there called Christine Byers. She's a crime reporter for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and she posted the following on Twitter last night. Police sources tell me more than a dozen witnesses have corroborated cops' version of events and shooting. This comes just an hour after autopsy reports reveal that Michael Brown was shot while facing the officer, refuting his friend's claim that he was shot in the back, execution style. A video showing Michael Brown robbing a convenience store just minutes before his death has been circulating newsrooms and social media. I understand that it's also come out that Michael Brown might have had a residual of marijuana in his bloodstream. Oh, that devil weed, that's what did it. You notice it took them a few days, like a week, to kind of get their story organized. But yes, this is almost looking like, one of these Israeli-Palestinian things where, an Israeli stubs his toe on, a Palestinian-owned rock and bombs Gaza, and claims that he was the victim. Some of the best reports I've seen would indicate that, yes, there was some sort of an altercation between young Mr. Brown and a store clerk, but that no, he didn't steal a pack of Swisher Sweets. There was certainly no report filed with the police. If this kid had really stolen something from this convenience store, I suspect the store manager probably would have reported the theft. There was some sort of a disagreement, but it does not appear that any direct accusations of criminal activity can be attributed to Mr. Brown. And even if he did steal a pack of Swisher Sweets, which I understand sells, I don't know, about $3, $4, since when is a teenager's tryst with shoplifting a criminal offense worthy of a death sentence? So justifying the shooting of this young man based on, I don't know, trumped up charges of stealing a pack of cigars or possibly having smoked some marijuana, justifying the shooting of this young man for such a reason is a real stretch, okay? One of the eyewitness reports I heard, and again, you have to consider, you never really know. I mean, I wasn't there. I didn't see it. I don't know. So all I can do is consider all the various evidence that's been made available and make up my own mind. Same as you. So thinking about it, this lady was apparently watching the altercation from her apartment window, indicated that there may have been a struggle at the officer's car. And it appeared that the officer was attempting to drag the young man into his automobile through the window. Now, on first glance, I got problems with that because, this young man is about 6'4", weighs about 300 pounds. This cop is nowhere near that girth. So I would say that was probably a faulty perception on the part of this witness. She indicates that at some point or another, the young man struggled free of the policeman's grasp and started to run away. The policeman exited his vehicle, started chasing the young man, firing wildly. Now, that is a little scary. I mean, if this cop is really, chasing this young man, just popping off rounds wildly in his direction in a suburban neighborhood, I would say that's very poor judgment. I would say that is very poor judgment on his part. Is that how it went down? Not really sure, but that would tend to corroborate the evidence provided by Mr. Brown's companion, that shots were fired as Mr. Brown was attempting to get away. Mr. Brown apparently turned and put his hands up, at which time the police officer apparently unloaded his weapon into the young man. The kid was hit at least 6 times, twice in the head. The fatal wound apparently entered the crown of his head at a fairly unusual angle, almost as if he was bent over. Of course, if you'd been hit 4 or 5 times previously, you might have been bent over too. Bottom line is, the young man was unarmed. The officer had no clear reason to be in fear for his life. He felt, secure enough in his situation that he was apparently chasing the young man. So, obviously he was not, in immediate fear of his life. There was no immediate danger to anyone else in the nearby vicinity, other than maybe from strays fired by the police officer. So what would be the motivation for this police officer shooting an unarmed man 6 times? That's a hard one to say. Now, of course, if you're Al Sharpton or you're Jesse Jackson or you're this kook from the new Black Panther Party, you're going to say, oh, it's all about, all them white cops just hate them black boys. They just want to shoot the black kid for no good reason. I have a hard time with that. I really do. I mean, there is no indication that this police officer is a raging racist. I just have a real problem with that. Although I will tell you that there currently is a fundraiser. Yeah, you can file this in the A to Z file. But there apparently is a fundraiser being put together by some splinter group of the KKK. They claim to have raised $1,200 to help this cop out in his legal defense. There's no indication this cop has solicited such a fundraiser or that he will accept the money. Frankly, some of the head poobahs of the KKK have come out and said, "Nah, this outfit is in no way related to us. It's a scam, just trying to sucker you into sending the money." So, you can file that one into your gag pile if you want. It gets curiouser and curiouser. Now, considering the facts surrounding this young man's death and all the various speculation, I guess, I can understand why folks in that community would be absolutely incensed and may feel the need to get out in the street and express their discontent. I can understand that. The problem is, it appears that a small minority have chosen to use the distraction of the protests as a cover to do a little unauthorized shopping, shall we say. There have been numerous stores broken into, stores, pillaged, looting's been going on, a lot of damage has been done. Frankly, they've burned down a number of stores in the neighborhood. Now, there is no indication that the raping, pillaging, and plundering of Ferguson, Missouri is being conducted by anyone associated with the peaceful protests. But the peaceful protesters are an easy target, and they're the ones that the police seem to have been paying the most attention to. There's been numerous arrests. Many of the arrests, in fact, have been journalists. That's people who are there doing their job, trying to cover a newsworthy event, finding themselves being the news instead of reporting the news. I think to a large degree, what's happening in Ferguson, Missouri, a small suburb just outside of St. Louis, shows us the trend happening in the United States. Our police departments are very quickly becoming militarized to the point where legal protest can easily be construed as a threat to national security. Now it appears that the National Guard has been called in to try and return order. Protests against the deployment of the National Guard were also met with arrests, including one very interesting one. Yes, a lady by the name of Hetty Epstein. Hetty Epstein. She's 90 years old. 90 years old. You go to it, Grandma. 90-year-old Holocaust survivor. She was arrested on Monday during unrest over the death of Michael Brown. Epstein, who aided Allied forces in the Nuremberg trials, was placed under arrest in downtown St. Louis, Missouri, for failing to disperse. Okay, so you have a right to gather for redress of grievances, but you do not have a right to ignore an order to disperse. Yes, there was a sit-in at a sub-office of the Politico, and Hetty Epstein, 90 years old. Several people were arrested as protests ramped up, including Scott Olson. He's a photographer, a very noted photographer for Getty. There is no excuse for excessive force by police, Obama said. Yeah, 8 people were arrested, along with Hetty. The protesters who chanted, "National Guard has to go," marched from Keener Plaza to Wainwright Building, where Governor Jay Nixon has an office. Basically, they wanted to explain to Governor Nixon why they had no need of the National Guard. I think I've got a caller. Meat Dog, I'm going to go ahead and bring you in, Meat Dog. I might have to hold you through the break. I think we're about ready to come up for a break. But Meat Dog, what do you think? What's your point of view on this?
Easily sum it up in 1 or 2 sentences, and there's plenty of blame to go around. And when the thing first went down, oops, okay, I guess I hear the music.
I'm hearing the music. We are going to have to take a quick break. Meat Dog, hang on there. We'll try and finish up your discussion right after the break, folks. Please do stand by. We'll be back to do a little bit more barking at the moon right after this break. All right, we are back from that break. Would like to inform any listeners on the Rents Radio Network that the call-in number 877-342-6673 is open. But right now, I want to get back to Meat Dog. Meat Dog, let's give you an opportunity to finish your dissertation. What do you think of this?
All seen in the news the police brutality, that's been going on against women, against men, even children, and and let's face it, minorities do get more than their fair share of abuse. That's without question. So initially I was with Michael Brown, but then I saw the footage of Michael Brown shoplifting and then threatening the clerk, taking him by the scruff of his neck and shaking him and then threatening him. So there are just so many components to this. And, if you want to get some live raw footage, go to Ustream. Alex Jones has a film crew out there. Of course, people like to denigrate him, but he did have a film crew out there on Ustream, and then live stream as well. If you go to those 2 places, you can see raw footage. However, with that being said, somebody once said, nothing lies like a camera. So what are you actually seeing, even if you see the raw footage? Because you have Malik Shabazz, who's supposedly this radical Black Panther leader, but he's helping to corral the protesters for the benefit of the police. He's obviously an FBI informant. And then you have, I think it was the first or second night, you had the looters and the arsonists going wild, and the cops are doing absolutely nothing to stop them. Instead, they're concentrating on repressing the First Amendment rights of the protesters and shooting tear gas canisters at Al Jazeera and arresting news people in the McDonald's.
It is kind of fascinating, isn't it? You
sound
okay. Over here, we got somebody burning down the Piggly Wiggly, but we're going to go mess with this guy over here because he's yelling and screaming some anti-government slogan or something. That does bother me a bit.
Yes. So
as far as the shoplifting thing,
and then last night you had the protesters throwing rocks and hurling insults at the CNN people and other news media types. Now, are these just punks, or are these guys being paid by the powers that be to harass the journalists to keep them at bay? So you never really know. It's like somebody said, nothing lies like a camera. So you can never really be sure exactly what you're seeing. And it's like, I think as Eric Holder said, never let a good crisis go to waste. So will this spiral out of control into some larger mass civil disobedience spree across the nation, or will this wind down and die a quiet death in a few more days? I don't know, but I have no doubt in my mind that our government, and especially Obama, although he says otherwise, they want to divide us along racial lines. They want to create as much animosity between the different demographics of people in this country as they can, so we won't concentrate on the war. We won't concentrate on Gaza. We won't concentrate on the CIA-funded and trained ISIS. We won't notice the crumbling economy. So, I mean, could this be the beginning of a revolution that could lead into a civil war? I don't know. Or is this a beta test to see how people react under an oblique or a soft core martial law? I don't know. I mean, are we watching kind of like a harbinger of the future? It's really difficult to say. And like I said, go to Ustream.com and Livestream.com. You can see the raw footage of what's developing. But keep in mind that what you're seeing, the motivations of the people may not be honest, and they may have ulterior motives. So it's really kind of hard. You really have to use discernment, and we can't rely on emotion to determine how we feel or how we think about any given situation that we see on the world stage.
I can tell you that back in the late '60s and early '70s, I had a ponytail and a Harley, and I was running around yelling, "Hell no, I won't go!" And went to my share of protests. And on more than one occasion, I found myself in a situation where we were getting hit with water cannons, and they were sicking dogs on us, and I got pepper gassed and tear gas and all kinds of other nonsense. And the cops were not easy on us long-haired hippie freaky people who were protesting the war in Vietnam back during the late '60s and early '70s. And I can tell you that there were times, out of sheer frustration, just wanting to get even, because this son of a bitch has been bad to you. Okay, he's really treated you bad. He's hit you with a water can, and he sicked his dog on you. He pepper gassed you. At some point, how much of that are you going to take before you get pissed off and maybe kick over a trash can? Or some of the guys, that I was running with might have gotten a little bit crazier than that, might have threw something through a window or something, just in utter disgust. Now, I can understand anger and frustration on the part of otherwise innocent protesters who are out there trying to say their piece, being confronted by this militarized police presence who seems to be totally ignoring the guys who are breaking into the Piggly Wiggly and burning the place down, and seem to be much more interested in corralling, kettling, whatever, controlling peaceful protesters. Now, I can understand some of them getting pissed off, picking up bricks and just heaving one at the cop who just shot a tear gas canister at them. I can understand that. I understand there have been some incidents where there might have been some shooting coming in from sources other than the police. At what point does a peaceful protest become a violent insurrection? My argument would be it happens when this militarized police presence pushes and pushes and pushes to the point where the protesters just get so fed up with being pushed that they push back. What do you think?
Well, everybody's got their breaking point, and the whole irony of the situation is that it looks like the majority, maybe the vast majority of the people in the town of Ferguson are peaceful, and we're initially holding a candlelight vigil, and it looks like most, if not all, of the agitators and people that are engaging in looting and illegal activity are not only from out of town, but from out of state as well, and throw into the mix of agent provocateurs from the FBI or CIA, and you got a real Donnybrook on your hands. And I don't know. Like I said before, where the ultimate conclusion is going to be, and we just need to, hopefully cooler heads will prevail.
I'll tell you, I happened to hear an interview on Pete Santilli's show. Now, for those of you who don't know who Pete Santilli is, he is a host here on the Rents Radio Network. He has a broadcast about midday my time. And he happened to get an interview with a spokesman from the new Black Panther Party. And the lady was very well spoken, and Pete Santilli was all up in her face because apparently Pete Santilli thinks that people ought to be getting out in the street anytime they damn well please. Which I support the right of these people to express their First Amendment and get out there and say their piece. But the position attributed to the new Black Panther Party is that they are advising residents to conduct their peaceful protests during daylight hours, to be respectful, to say their piece. And I'm hearing the music, so we are going to have to step out for a break. I'll finish this thought as soon as I get back, and hopefully we'll get on to some other items before the close of business today. But y'all hang in there. We'll be right back. All righty, and we're back from that break. I want to thank Meat Dog for giving us his take on this Ferguson, Missouri issue. I do want to wrap up on this new Black Panther Party thing. Now, I'm not an apologist for the new Black Panther Party, but that doesn't mean occasionally somebody that I generally disagree with can't come up with a good idea. Now, the position put forward by the new Black Panther Party is that, yes, the protests should go on, but they should go on during daylight hours, that most of the bad guys who are doing the evil stuff seem to be coming out, late at night. So the advice given by the new Black Panther Party is say, hey, get out there, do your protest during daylight hours, go back home before dark. If the jerks are going to come out and rob the local Piggly Wiggly and burn it to the ground, let the cops deal with the bad guys and not be distracted by you peaceful protesters. Now, some are saying, well, they're obviously, bought out by the FBI. They're obviously, supporting the government position, this, that, and the other thing. Others are saying, gee, that's probably not such bad advice under the circumstances. There does seem to be a minority element that is using the peaceful protest as cover to do nefarious deeds. So, let's try to, separate the two groups so that, the police presence, which is there in force, can deal with the guys that they should be dealing with. Okay. Now, some are going to agree, some are going to disagree. You just have to consider what's been put on the table. And as always, make up your own damn mind. There doesn't seem to be any clear-cut black and white in this issue. As much as everybody wants to turn it into a racial issue, I think it's more a statement of a decline in American values. Our police sees us, regardless of what color we are. Because we are not wearing that blue suit and badge, we are, by definition, criminals who just haven't been caught yet. And it don't matter whether you are black, white, pink, purple, or blue. It could happen to you. Now, I was somewhat encouraged to see some white faces in the crowd that was protesting. It's not just black people that have taken this issue to heart and are out there on the streets seeking justice. At the same time, I've got to have a certain amount of sympathy for this cop. I know it's tough, gee, Gary, why don't you come down and take a side? Why are you walking the fence like this? Okay. I have no idea what was going through that cop's mind. I have no idea how he's sleeping at night with the knowledge that he took the life of an 18-year-old boy, had his whole life in front of him, took the life of an 18-year-old boy who was unarmed. And as far as this cop was concerned, his only real criminal activity was that he was walking in the street. This cop had no idea about the Swisher Sweets or the marijuana or any of this other stuff. That's all after the fact. This is stuff that's all after the fact. So, I just wonder how that man sleeps at night with the knowledge that he took a life for no good reason that anybody's been able to show me so far. That's one that's very difficult for me to understand. And before everybody, gets, it's just, white people hate black people. Look, the statistics are this, okay? White on black crime, okay? Occasions where a white person goes out and messes with a black person just on general principles for no damn good reason. Such incidences are way down, way down historically. However, incidents of black people going out and purposely messing with white people are up significantly. So, if I really was married to statistics, I would have to come to the conclusion that if there was a race war in the works, it would be black people being the aggressors against white people. But I don't want to look at this as a black and white issue. Because, that is what the powers that be, whoever they may be, whoever they may think they are, that's really what they're trying to do. They're trying to get the white people suspicious of the black people, and the black people suspicious of the brown people, and the brown people suspicious of the red people, and the red people suspicious of the white. They really, really, really wish to divide and conquer. Because as long as we're at each other's throats, say, it's all about race. It's all about race. It's the white people against the black people against the brown people against the red people. As long as that is where we're going, we cannot come together and realize that there is a common enemy of us all who's using situations like what went down in Missouri to force us into a divided mentality, keeping us apart, keeping us from joining together and facing off against the real enemy of us all. Now, I mentioned earlier that back during the late 60s, early 70s, I had a ponytail and a Harley, and I running around yelling, hell no, I won't go. Now, I can tell you that one of the reasons why the anti-Vietnam War protests were successful, because we cut a deal, okay? See, there was this other group over here, this group that was saying, hey, just because we're black doesn't mean we should have to ride in the back of the bus. We should be able to ride anywhere we want. Quit oppressing us. We had this civil rights group out there who was very actively engaged in protests for their position on things. And of course, us young college kids, most of whom were probably white, we were out there yelling and screaming about this illegal war that was going on in Southeast Asia at the time. Well, we were smart enough to realize that we had a mutual interest, okay? Because I tell you, a lot of those young boys that were being sent over to Vietnam to get their tails shot off happened to be black. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of them happened to be black. And us young white kids, We had college deferments, but we still felt seriously enough about the issue that we were out there on the streets yelling, hell no, I won't go, and stop that damn war. But we cut a deal. The anti-Vietnam War protester says, hey, look, we'll go march in your civil rights march on Tuesday. You join us in our anti-Vietnam War march on Wednesday. And the deal worked. The deal worked. Okay? The numbers at both protests were enhanced because of that cooperation. And when there was about 1 million of us camped out across from the White House, you betcha, black people were very well represented at that protest. So, as you consider this situation in Missouri, yeah, okay, you got a right to be angry. I can understand some anger and some frustration. I cannot understand the violence and the looting, okay? That part of it has got to stop. We've got to be above them. We've got to be bigger than them. We cannot be the first to draw blood. Now, I can tell you that the anti-war movement really didn't catch on big time until Kent State. We had 4 young college kids shot down, supposedly by the National Guard. Some reports have come out saying it might have been a CIA sniper. Who knows, okay? I wasn't there. I didn't see it. I've seen a lot of different reports on it. Bottom line is, though, there were some young college kids shot down in an anti-Vietnam War protest, and that all of a sudden that made the evening news. Walter Cronkite actually reported on it, because we were being reported on as a bunch of crazed, long-haired hippies that didn't take baths and smelled bad and whatever else, But after Kent State, average, everyday mom and dads sitting down watching the TV said, "Oh my God. Did that really happen here in the United States of America?" Yeah, that happened. About the same time, there was a half a dozen black kids shot down at a black university down in Alabama. Nobody even remembers that incident. They were holding a civil rights protest, and they were gunned down by local police. Didn't even make the evening news. What can we discern from that? Well, I'll tell you a couple things. First of all, we all need to get together. Okay? The white people out there, you need to cover your black brother's ass. Because I'll tell you, we are all in this together. There is an enemy of all of us that we're going to have to face down. If we face them down in an armed revolt, we will lose. Okay? Because they have been preparing for just such an event for years, using your money to stockpile the military-grade hardware to face off against you with. So if you really think you're going to grab your AK-47 and your Glock and go out there and face down against the current militarized police force in a heads-on conflict, you had better guess again. We've got to be smarter than they are, and we've got to find allies. That's it for me. I've done enough barking at the moon for this week. I'll see y'all again next week. Have a good one. Good night, all. All right, let's see here. I think I got everything settled down. Yes, I am back for a brief after show. And I'll tell you, I didn't get through half of what I wanted to get through tonight. But I'll tell you, this issue in Ferguson is persistent. It is persistent. As a matter of fact, just today, a 23-year-old African-American man was shot and killed by St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department officers about midday. Now, in this case, I suspect it was a matter of suicide by cop. Okay? This guy came at the cops with a knife and basically was saying, "Go ahead, kill me, kill me." I think this guy really wanted to end his life and just did not have the courage to do it himself. So he basically forced the police into a situation where they had to shoot him down. Yeah. Such things have been known to happen. Remember a while back, there was an incident where it was a sad incident too. Cops did one of these unannounced SWAT raids on a house. They thought they were going to get, some drug dealer or some bail jumper or something, and they threw a flashbang into the place. The flashbang landed in the baby's crib and burnt the baby up real bad. Remember that? Wasn't that long ago. Back in May, we do have kind of a short attention span here in the United States, so a lot of folks might have forgotten about that one. Well, at the time, cops apologized, said, "Oops," because the guy they wanted wasn't there. They didn't find any drugs in the house, nothing. They severely injured an innocent child. Well, I said, "Well, we're gonna pay for the medical bills and all that." Well, the medical bills are up to $800,000, and now the county has decided that they not only are not responsible for paying the bills, but that it would be in some way illegal for them to pay the medical bills of baby boo-boo. The last name looks like it might be Indonesian or something. Vanessa Van. I'm probably butchering the last name of this young kid, but bottom line is, this kid is severely injured, has permanent injuries, facial scarring. There's still a hole in the child's chest. This kid is going to need a series of reconstructive surgeries over his lifetime to be put back even close to normal. And the county is absolving itself from responsibility, saying, "Hey, sorry about that." Oops. Yeah. How about that? Yeah. One thing that's come out, and I don't know how true this is. I haven't researched it independently. Don't know this to be a fact. I don't know if it's true in all jurisdictions or if it's just in a couple or what the deal is. But I understand that the SWAT teams are not really members of the police department, that they're some sort of a private corporation, kind of like a Blackwater or something like that, and that, the county and the state can then absolve themselves. They can have plausible deniability when these guys go crazy. And, what you got to do now, if you want to sue them, you sue that corporation. That corporation, like Blackwater, just, goes bankrupt and pops back up with another name somewhere else, So when they do something heinous like this, they can absolve themselves easily. Doesn't that make perfect sense? Is that how policing is supposed to go down in the land of the free and the home of the brave? Fascinating, isn't it? Yeah, this militarization of the police that's been going on, frankly, since the Clinton administration. So all you out there who want to blame Obama for this, hey, look, there's plenty you can blame Obama for. I tell you, there's plenty you can blame GW for. There's plenty you can blame GHW for. And there's plenty you can blame Clinton for. And frankly, you can even get back to that stalwart, idol of all the conservatives out there, old Ronnie Reagan. You get right back to him and find that, this has been a progression that recently has been picking up speed. It really started picking up speed with the Clinton administration, but this has been in the works for a long time. We are now an occupied nation. The United States of America is now an occupied nation. And just a few more Fergusons, and I would not be a bit surprised if they don't just make it official, declare martial law, and you too will be under a dusk to dawn curfew. If you don't think it can happen here, wake up, smell the coffee. It's been brewing for a while. Matter of fact, it's a little overcooked at this point. That's pretty much it for my planned presentation. To the audience, I do have a something of a live audience out there still hanging with me. If there are any issues that the audience would like to discuss, post it up in the chat room now, or forever hold your peace. We'll see what we can do about addressing your issues. Yeah, there were about 6 or 8 other items in the news, but I think they'll keep until next week. I really wanted to get this barely live, huh? You say I am barely live. Okay, my transmission is not that good, huh? I kind of wanted to get this Missouri issue handled. I kind of hope that the volume level on that one starts to drop off a little bit, because to be honest with you, there's a lot of other stuff going on in the news. Gaza is starting to fire up again. Okay, I mean, we had this little lull in activity in Gaza. Well, they're back at it again. The trouble is not done in Ukraine. Some mysterious fighter bombers apparently bombed guys that would not be supportive of the United States in Libya, and nobody seems to know where these fighter bombers came from. Okay, just mystery planes from out of nowhere. There is a lot of stuff going on in the world that you should be paying attention to. And as much as I feel bad for these people who lost their 18-year-old son, a grandson, young man that'll never be a father, he'll never grow up, be anything. It's a real shame, But we cannot be distracted from the other important issues of the world. So next week we're going to get back onto the the more routine news. I wanted to get this Ferguson, Missouri thing discussed and out of the way as much as possible now. Anybody else? Oh, yeah. Maury's mentioning the Brzezinski cancer cure. Now, Maury, you realize that material's been out there for quite a while, right? That is not, it may be new to you, but that material has been out there for many, many years. There are others, like the Gersten Clinic down in Mexico, that have got a fairly proven regimen. So it's the Ebola thing. There's anybody out there familiar with Dr. Rima Lebeau? Some people think she's good. Some people think she's a quack. Who knows? But she's out there preaching the colloidal silver as a cure for Ebola. Now the problem is, I think she's gotten herself in trouble because she's actually claiming that nanoparticulate silver in water suspension can cure Ebola. Whenever you mention the word cure, you come under the scrutiny of the FDA, and of course she's down in Chile, but I understand her website's been attacked. She's being attacked personally around the internet, and will colloidal silver in one form or another actually combat Ebola? Yeah, could be. I can tell you that, you know, when I got this nasty head cold or flu or whatever the hell it is that I caught over the weekend, I was dosing myself with colloidal silver. When it comes to colloidal silver, it may or may not help with a viral infection, but what I can tell you is, taken in moderation, it certainly will not hurt. So, you know, it's like everything else, you know, when you're feeling bad, you know, you do it, whatever you can do to try to feel better. And I did dose myself with colloidal silver, something fierce, when I felt myself starting to come down with this little viral infection that I've just been under. So, you know, is Remo LeBeau, you know, doing some service by telling people who may be concerned or afraid of this Ebola thing going around, you know, to stock up on some nano silver? You know, I'm not going to pass judgment. I can tell you that, you know, long before Remo LeBeau was out there preaching the gospel of colloidal silver, I was already able to manufacture all the colloidal silver I need independently, and I do have commercial preparations available to me when I need them. So, you know, I'm a believer. Remo LeBeau, she's entitled to her opinion, and I don't think she should be struck down for expressing it. Who else is out there? Who else has got something interesting? Any any hot items in the news that I should have covered this week that I did not? Okay, I mean, you know, frankly, I can think of at least a half a dozen that, you know, if I'd had 2 hours tonight, I probably would have touched on. But what does the audience think? I mean, what hot item in the news should I have covered that would have taken precedence over this Ferguson, Missouri issue that I spent the whole night talking about? Well, I'll tell you, I'm not seeing any hot items. I am getting some reinforcement from a few in the audience who indicate that, yes, colloidal silver is an effective remedy. I can tell you that it's very effective against bacterial infections. It's very effective against viral infections. It's a little tougher, but you know, it apparently does help with some. Does have some beneficial effects even with viral infections. Yeah, why is Lois Lerner getting a pension? That woman, you know, frankly, I think she should be in a 6x9 with a guy named Bubba who thinks she's pretty. But, you know, that's just me. I touched on this once before. You know, in my day job, I am somewhat involved with information technology. And one of the things I do is I design corporate email systems, both hosted outside and hosted inside. And I can tell you that every one of these corporate email systems I've put together in the last, 15, 20 years has had multiple backups. Okay, so you have a copy of your email that resides on your local hard disk on your workstation. That email also resides on a server within your organization. And because of retention policies that are pretty much mandated by federal law, email is also hosted to an off-site server where you could, in theory, recover emails going back, 5 years, 10 years, okay? So the idea that an organization like the IRS could mysteriously lose critical, politically sensitive emails that were only a year or two old, I find highly suspicious. Okay, I find that very suspicious. And I'll put the word out to the IRS. I don't usually take government contracts because, frankly, I just don't, as a rule, I will not work for the government. But as long as you fellows are willing to pay me in advance, the way you expect me to pay you, I will design you an email system where this won't happen again. You obviously didn't get proper consulting advice last time around. Okay. All right, well, I'll tell you, I'm not seeing any hot ones come. Okay, I should give you a count now. Okay, I'll give you 10 seconds here. Anybody out there got a really, really, really hot item? I know there's a little bit of a delay, so I'll give you a couple seconds to think. But I am getting tired. It's time to shut this thing down and bundle it up so I can post it to YouTube. But if anybody out there's got a really hot topic, well, yeah, I'll tell you, if it looks like she was going to turn state's evidence, Tommy Reed, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Lois Lerner didn't wind up dead. As long as she keeps her mouth shut, she's good to go. But if that woman starts singing like a canary, yeah, I have a funny feeling Guido will send Louis the leg breaker by to pay her a visit. Comet found not to be a snowball. Well, that is a fact. They are not snowballs. How about that? Isn't that something? All right, that's going to have to be it for me, guys. I'm tired. I'm still not really well. I came down with this thing on Thursday. Friday I was feeling Saturday I was down on my ass. Sunday I was starting to feel better. Today I'm back in the swing of things. I'm back to work. I'm still not feeling 100%. So I'm going to have to get to bed reasonably early tonight. So that'll be it for me for this week. I'll be back to do some more Barking at the Moon next week. Y'all have a good one.
Calling out to you. Won't you turn, won't you turn?